Hello, everybody, and welcome to Build for Health, the show that redefines strength because muscle isn't just for looks. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Coach Sergio Ninaz, and today we're building a body that's built to last. Our topic, bones. All right, man, we came out of last week, and you were fired up. I haven't seen you so prepared for a podcast. Well, I haven't seen you prepared for a podcast like this yet. And you are sending me notes and texts, and we are ready to go. We're talking about bones. What is on your mind? And do you need some sort of an intervention?
No, it's just somebody mentioned something, and then that kind of triggered me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got to talk about this. And you said bones. And I'm like, I remember having a conversation with one of my clients about this, and they didn't really know much about the bones and how important it is and how they get affected throughout the years and everything else. So I had another one asking me because she would like to lose some weight, if she can use some medication, the GLP-1 and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, we got to talk about this.
Okay. All right. So bones, I think when I think of bones, I usually think of like Scooby-Doo being chased by a skeleton. I know very little about bones. And so I think we need to start at our most basic. What are bones, man? What's going on with bones, and why are we concerned about our bones right now?
Well,
that seems like such a dumb question, but I really need to start there.
Well, everyone, when they think of bones, they think they aren't static. They're living tissue that responds to stress, like when you lift weights, jump, sprint, or anything like that. The bones get a signal to become stronger and denser.
Wait, seriously though? Seriously? You're telling me this? Like, why am I just learning this now? Like, I'm here, I come to you to build muscle, I thought, and now you're telling me my bones are actually getting a signal to get stronger too.
Well, they're directly related, the muscle and the bones. They're very much, directly linked. The stronger your muscle are, the more tension they place on bones, which helps maintain and build that bone density. So they're very much related. So me building the muscle mass and building stronger, bigger muscles, also I'm helping you with the bones themselves. So it's
blown.
not just that they're not just this rigid structure that's holding the body together. Like the bones are actual living tissue, and they're constantly going through the process called like remodeling. So where old bone is broken down and the new bone is rebuilt, and these specialized cells that are called osteoclasts, they remove old and that damaged bone, while osteoblasts, they build the new bone tissue. So there's this whole process, and that's influenced also by nutrition, hormones, physical activity, age, and just overall health. But that peak bone mass is usually reached somewhere around like late 20s, early 30s. And after that, most people, just gradually begin to lose that bone density over time, especially if they're not active or they're under eating or not doing resistance trainings.
All right. So it seems now I'm, as you can see, I'm shocked. And so we need to talk about what is it that I can do to actually reach in and impact my bones, because they feel pretty deep. It seems hard. What sorts of factors play into what I can control about my bone health? Before we start talking about like supplements and things, let's talk about movements first.
Yeah, there's not really that many supplements. It's more the things that affect the bone structure and the density, and how you can actually repair those bones and get them stronger. And through like resistance trainings, plyometrics, and we can go into details with that. And then also we'll go into details when it comes to nutrition. They play also a massive role in the bone health. And then the hormones and how they affect the bone health. So we can kind of break down.
All right, let's start then with resistance training. What is happening to my bones under resistance stress?
So that's probably one of the most effective tools to prevent and slow down what's called the osteoporosis, the loss of bone, because the bones adapt to stress just like muscles do. So when you lift weights or perform any kind of strength exercise, muscle pull on that bone that they're attached to. So the mechanical tension sends a signal to the bone that the bone needs to become stronger and denser to handle that load. So in response, the body stimulates that bone remodeling and increases the activity of osteoblasts. So those cells that are responsible for building the new bone tissue. So over time, this can help maintain and improve that bone density. Now, another major benefit of resistance training is that, of course, it builds muscle, balance, coordination, stability, all that stuff. And then also matters because one of the biggest, risk of osteoporosis is falling and fracturing those weakened bones. So then you get plyometrics as well, which people kind of ignore.
What are plyometrics?
So plyometrics are like jumps and putting more impact on that bone. So that impact-based exercises can also be beneficial for that bone health because the bone respond especially well to forces that are dynamic and high impact. So like jumping, hopping, skipping, or those explosive movements, they create the brief but powerful loading force through the skeleton. So the impact actually stimulates the bone tissue to adapt to that strength, particularly like in the hips and lower body, because that's when you get those osteoporosis, that's where the fractures usually happen. So it's very important that if you can do some plyometrics, do them. It's important that, you don't wait till you're older to do that stuff. Like, make sure that you start early.
Yeah, plyometrics, I imagine any of those explosive movements gets harder to start the later you start.
Yeah. So in reality, like the habits you build in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, they have that massive impact on your risk for the osteoporosis and fractures later in life. So make sure that you put that in your routine when it comes to resistance training as well.
All right. Next is nutrition.
Yes.
What are my bone foods?
So nutrition does play a massive role in that bone health because, like we said, the bones are living tissue that constantly need raw material to rebuild, like repair, and then maintain their structure, right? So most people think about, calcium, but strong bones depends on combination of nutrients working together. Like calcium is important because it's one of the main minerals that are stored in the bone tissue. But without enough vitamin D, the body cannot absorb and use that calcium effectively. So the vitamin D helps with the absorption of calcium.
Okay.
Then magnesium also helps regulate the calcium balance and supports that bone structure. While like vitamin K helps direct calcium into the bone instead of allowing to accumulate in the places like a blood vessel. So there's all these vitamins that you have to take them together. They work together well, and then like protein, it's not just for the muscle, and it helps the muscle. It's another huge factor that, it gets overlooked. And I mean, the bone is made purely of minerals, but it also contains a protein, like a matrix, mainly collagen.
Mm-hmm.
And that
inside
gives the
bone.
Yes. And that gives the bone flexibility and the structure. So without adequate protein intake, the body has a harder time repairing and maintaining that bone tissue. So this is one reason why, like, chronic under eating, crash dieting, these extreme restrictive diets can negatively affect that bone density. So make sure that you take the collagen. The collagen is not just for the females. Usually when you mention collagen, usually females are the one that the guys don't drink. It's for the males too.
Yeah.
So make sure, like, I drink my collagen every morning, and I'll mix it with my water, and then I take my multivitamins and all that stuff, and I get my collagen in. So, and that's separate from the protein that I take like later in the day after the workout and stuff like that. And I focus on my protein intake, but collagen is like separate in the morning. I take every morning.
Well, I guess I'm in a stereotypical relationship because I've never even considered collagen, and I know my wife takes it every day, and all I hear is, "Oh, it's so disgusting! Oh my God, it's just awful!" But she does it every day, and I've never once had it.
Yeah, you should try it. It's really not bad because you have the other one that are like tasteless, and then I'll just mix it with my electrolytes with Element, and I don't really taste anything. It actually tastes pretty good.
Okay. I'd never thought about mixing something with my LMNT.
It tastes way better.
Okay, I'm on board with this. All right. Okay. Next up is hormones. How are hormone balance related to bone health?
So hormones are probably one of the biggest regulators of bone health because they control the balance between like the bone breakdown and a bone building. So because it's constantly being remodeled, and all bone is, like we said, is being removed and bone is being created. So hormones help determine whether the process stays balanced or starts shifting toward the bone loss. When hormones are healthy and stable, the body is better able to maintain the strong that bone density. But when hormones become disrupted, or they decline with age, and bone breakdown can start happening a lot faster than the new bone is being rebuilt. So, like we said, the most important hormones for the bone health is estrogen. Although many people associate estrogen only, like I said, with women, it does play critical role in both men and women. So, and it helps slow down the bone breakdown and preserve the bone density. So this is why women often experience that rapid bone loss after menopause, because when
estrogen declines.
Estrogen levels declines, significantly after menopause. But testosterone is also important because it supports the muscle mass, that strength, and that bone building activity in men. Low testosterone levels are also associated with lower bone density and also increase the fracture risk over time. And then you have also cortisol. It's the body's stress hormone. Right? So cortisol is, short-term cortisol is normal and necessary, but chronically elevated cortisol from ongoing stress and like that poor sleep and like the also long-term steroid medications can increase that bone breakdown and interfere with the body's ability to rebuild that tissue. So, over time, it can contribute to that weaker bone and, of course, the risk of osteoporosis. There's other hormones also that matters too, like thyroid hormones. They regulate the metabolism and the bone turnover. So really high thyroid activity can accelerate that bone loss. Also, like insulin, growth hormone and insulin, they also support tissue growth.
So you are a month and a half, 2 months out from fracturing your arm?
Yeah, but 2 months.
What were you doing with all of these bone considerations in mind? Anything different than your normal routine that you sort of injected in your day-to-day over the last 2 months to help knit that bone back together, or are you just always on top of it?
Well, I was taking my collagen, and that was always there. But then I also increased because of all the vitamins and minerals that I take. Instead of taking them through the pills, I was going to the IV clinic and getting the extra boost of that vitamin D and calcium and vitamin K, all that stuff. Also vitamin Bs and things like that to kind of accelerate that repair. So yeah, I was doing a little bit of more kind of helping my, and then bone heal. But also I was kept trying to move my arm and try to, work on that forearm, the muscles, try to get them to start firing again. And then pretty much that's everything else. I was already doing it.
Yeah.
But there wasn't
Yeah,
really
you're kind of a hard
too much
specimen to talk about because you're already so attentive to all these systems. But I was just curious, like, because you're
Yeah.
ahead, like your bone, our assumption is that your bone is knitting together ahead of schedule. And how much of it is just because of, you're you and your routine includes a lot of these things already versus things you did differently. I think
Yeah,
that's
they
a
take
very
usually.
cool situation.
Yeah, earlier actually, I was able to. I was actually doing pull-ups, so I was like,
Jeez.
I gotta try it. I was able to hang like 2 days ago, but I
Yeah.
wasn't able to do anything else. I would hang for like 5 seconds, and my arm would start to shake. So I would like go and try not to push it too much. And then today, I'm like, you know what? Let me just jump on these Olympic rings and try to do some
On
pull-ups.
the Olympic rings.
Yeah,
Really?
so I'm like, just go for it. I'm like,
Okay.
and yeah, I did 5 pull-ups, and then I started getting looks from inside. So I'm like, all right, I'll go down. I'll
Yeah,
stop.
it's good that you live in an environment where a little shame can be thrown your way just for your own safety. Look, so the last question, this came up because somebody had asked you a question about GLP-1s and the relationship with the GLP-1 and presumably bone health. So what do we have to think about there?
Well, when they're used as a medication, then I'm okay with it. But these days, most people use it for just the weight loss, like the Ozempic and all those. And, if you're using for medications for like a blood sugar control, I get it.
Diabetes,
But, one big concern that even researchers and clinicians have is how rapid weight loss from these drugs can impact that bone health over time. So there was one concern with GLP medication is that because they suppress the appetite so much that some people end up eating far too little, like they're already not eating the right food and all that stuff. They're not getting enough protein as it is, suppressing that appetite. That means now they're going to even eat less than what they were eating. So their calorie intake drops, too low, especially that protein. And then, of course, with that, because through food we get calcium and other minerals, nutrients that body may struggle to properly maintain, struggle to get so they can maintain their muscle tissue and bone remodeling and that whole recovery process. So, without food, like you can't expect the body to recover and function the right way. So during that weight loss, that inadequate protein intake can, increase the risk of losing muscle mass, which we said how directly was influenced with the bone health, So that muscle and bone health are like very closely connected. So you have to think about both. You can't just think about the weight loss. I mean, the bones, they respond to that mechanical loading. So, you can work out and all that stuff, but if you're not eating enough protein and rebuilding that muscle, and like we said, the protein also helps with the bone itself too. So it's just I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, they're pretty hardcore. Pretty hardcore change to your system.
It reduces the stimulus that's needed to maintain that bone density. So, I mean, there's a lot of studies that show that concern. Studies have been done, so you can see how it's related. So it's people are just focused on the weight loss itself. They don't see how this is like a dominoes. You have 70 dominoes, and if you push one, they're all gonna go down. But people are only kind of focused on the first two, and they're like trying to focus on that. They don't see all the other things these dominoes how can those two first one can affect everything else. It's a big chain. It's all connected. So it's not just you look skinnier. You actually are not getting healthier. You're getting worse.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really that's a really rational way to put it because I've had this conversation with my own physician about GLP-1s myself, and the entire discussion was around like, look, we can try it, but one of the things you'll notice is that you'll have to work out more and take in more protein, and your behavior will change so that you will not want to do that. You will not want to do those things. You won't eat that much, and you won't want to eat enough, and what you do eat will be out of balance. It is totally possible to maintain a healthy lifestyle on a GLP-1. It's absolutely possible from my physician, but it's so hard that most people don't. And they don't have the rigorous training. They don't, routine. They don't eat enough protein. They don't keep the balance up of their nutrients, and that's when they suffer. So I don't know. I haven't read the research, but everything I'm hearing is your behavior changes so dramatically, so quickly that it can really harm all of these interconnected systems.
Exactly. I mean, even for me, who's like so dedicated, and I can, so disciplined when it comes to nutrition and all that stuff, and I can flip a switch and be just perfect when it comes to that. But it would probably be hard if I was on that to eat enough protein and eat enough, food where I'm getting all my nutrients and minerals that my body needs. It would be extremely difficult. And we're talking about people that are not on my level, used to this kind of lifestyle. They have a different lifestyle, so they're not going to be able, to maintain any of the muscle mass, anything. They can't do it. Like, instead of teaching them how to do it the right way, how to eat right.
Yeah. But they also have a very different cognitive and emotional relationship with food. And that's one of the things that GLP-1s help to rewire. And that's why it's so emotionally fraught. Because, I mean, we can sit here and say, you just have to learn how to eat right. But for people for whom GLP-1s are perfect, it's impossible to just say, I just go eat right. Right? I mean, it's just like they're chemically wired not to be able to do that on their own. And this is a support that is so eye-opening, but super dangerous. I think that's the trick is managing the risks.
I think they get addicted to it because they start seeing little results. They start losing weight. They're not hungry, and then they just stay on it. They love it, and they just don't want to get off of it. It's very addicting, but then it just gets worse and worse. So if somebody is about 250, 300 pounds, like really big people, and get on it, try to suppress their appetite, because they're probably eating 5,000-6,000 calories. I'm like, of God knows all kinds of food, processed food, and things like that. I can see that, helping them kind of control that cravings and things like that, and then slowly teach them how to eat right and things like that, and then wave them off that and start exercising and doing things. But somebody who has only like maybe 40, 50 pounds to lose, they're not, or 30 pounds, like, I wouldn't really be giving them that. There's so many other different ways that you can go about this.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the handoff is important, right? Because I think you just said it there. It's addicting to get to that point. And when you have 70 pounds to lose and you lose the first 40, you could probably start weaning yourself off of the GLP-1s and start considering, a more rigorous training and building some new habits. But you don't. I mean, your body and brain are going to tell you you don't wanna. You don't want to do
exactly.
that.
It's addicting, just like steroids.
Yes. Yeah.
Very addicting. People could stop after 1 or 2 cycles, but the feeling is
pretty
amazing.
Good.
Like, it's great, and they see the results and they want more, and they can't stop. It's hard to stop, and I know,
and then their arms fall off
crazy.
at a competition.
Pretty much. And then, of course, they see all the negative effects, just like they're going to see from this GLP-1. I know a few guys that destroy their kidneys and livers and all these organs because they just couldn't stay off those steroids, and it's just not worth it. So I was not for it when my client asked me, because she did not need it. She wasn't really that overweight and stuff like that. She just wanted something fast, quick. Everyone's looking for a shortcut, that magic pill. it's just going to take everything away. And I'm like, nah, don't do it.
Well, okay. So GLP-1s are complicated, but bones are, it turns out, are less complicated, and you have some control. And we've talked about training, plyometrics, nutrition, and hormones, and these are all deeply interconnected systems. So,
yes.
What should be? I mean, so I'm going to go and I got a doctor's appointment coming up. They're going to do blood work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to be asking for these for markers for these things, right? My hormones, am I getting the right balance of hormones? I'm in a man of a certain age. Should I be looking at testosterone? Should I be how do we balance that out? Anything
you can
else?
ask them about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask them about that. Ask them about your bone health, bone density. They can test for that too. And yeah, you'll know, and then make sure that all the hormones are perfectly balanced.
I'm a big fan of Wolverine, like as a model character. Wolverine had the metal injected right into the bones. Is that are we there yet? Can we do that? I just don't ever want to think about it again. I don't ever want to think about it again.
I probably would try that. I like the idea of that.
All right. This has been great. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and learning about bones today. We sure appreciate you and your time and your attention. Don't forget, you can ask us questions. Swipe up in your show notes. You'll see the question link, and they'll come right into us. We'll answer them on an upcoming Q&A episode. And don't forget to subscribe and share if you're listening to this on the website. It's, sharing the show, subscribing to the show. It's how we grow stronger together. Thanks for being here on Built for Health, and we will catch you in the gym next week.